Is it recording automatically?
Yep.
Okay. Mm. Welcome, everyone. It's really fun not being able to see all of you coming in, but um, let me know, Gail or Natasha, when there's a good number in. Yeah, well, just a few more seconds and then start.
Yeah, there are a few still coming in, but you can go ahead and get started.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are having a good week so far and at least staying warm because it's really cold for this one that is from Puerto Rico. So I'm suffering here, but um, I am Natasha Lugo Escobar. I'm the director of the Postbac and Summer Program. And I'm also one of the pre-grad advisors. I meet with a lot of postbac that are preparing for this journey. So I'm happy to be here today with you all. Um, Before just even started, I want to honestly congratulate all of you or all of you that have been applying this cycle. I know this week probably is one of like the deadlines for many of the schools, and I think you all need to give yourself a pat in the back and feeling proud of your accomplishment. This is the first step and actually the hardest step into this journey of applying to grad school. So I hope you got time to rest or celebrate whether you're ready submitter or at least um, in the verge of like finishing your applications and feel good, about yourself and your commitment and resilience, especially during this time because we know it was hard for many when we were closed and harder to get that access to the resources that you need. But we're happy now to be able to be back and help you in the next steps. Some housekeeping items. The chat is disabled, so please use the Q&A to submit your questions. We have here a wonderful staff, Natasha Hill and Gail Siebel, who will help answer questions live as well so that we get to all your questions as much as we can. You also receive the slides and the recording, so you don't have to go crazy like writing everything and just focus on the content. So to help you prepare, right, for the next step, you already went through the application, that's done. Now moving forward, preparing for your interview. And we hope like today's gives you kind of an idea of the process and help you ease, your stress going into that. So we'll go over a little bit of the interview process, the strategies to navigate and manage the stress that comes with it, how to best prepare for it. So, what to do before the interview, what to do during the interview, what to do after the interview. We'll go over some common questions and give you also additional questions that you can practice in advance and start like thinking of. And then just tips for, successful interviews. So our goal is that you see these interviews as an opportunity, right? Um, and that getting to grad school is a marathon and not a sprint. It takes time, it takes preparation. You've seen it takes also persistence and resilience. So just take it one step at a time, and have always right that end goal, which is getting into the graduate program of your choice. And this is the first step. You are already doing the first step on preparing for it by attending this webinar. Hopefully you sign up for the mock interviews that start next week as well. So let's moving forward. Like congratulations, you got the interview invitation that you were waiting for, and now is when, it feels more real, right? And the nerve starts piling up. So what are some things that come to your mind right now when you read or hear the word interview? And since I cannot see the Q&A, I'm going to ask Natasha or Gail to kind of mention some of the things that you put in there. Anything that comes to your mind when you hear the word interview. Gail and Natasha, is anything coming up?
No, not yet.
Or maybe nothing yet?
Okay, now we got some reality,
Mm-hmm.
heart thumping, stressful, strength, weakness, professional, nerves are some of the ones we've gotten so far.
Okay, great. So yes, you may see some of your words here, right? The first one that comes to many people is stress and anxiety. Also, you mentioned strengths and weaknesses, right? An interview is also that time where you have to really reflect about the things that you're great at and the things that you also need to, improve or are not that good yet. So it can bring those like doubts and imposter fears as well. But the point of this is that stress is a natural part of the interview. Um, and it's okay. I mean, of course, with the boundaries, and that's what we are here. It's the appropriate response, right? When something really, really matters to you, you make it nervous. And it not necessarily is a lack of your confidence, but it's how more of our body reacts, right? To keep you on task, to keep you focused. And it is a helpful one when you put your discomforts and fears into perspective, knowing that this is part of the process, this is part of the journey. It is something that you have to do, right? That every applicant has to go through. And also have in your mind the people that are interviewing, the faculty, the program admissions, they went through this process too, right? So they can understand how you're feeling as well. And part of it is also using the stress and that anxiety that you get as a warning to develop a strategy and to practice. If you know that, being in front of others, having to think on your feet, talking to people gives you anxiety, and makes you nervous, just taking the time now to develop the habits and the strategies that you can use during that time to keep yourself grounded and build the confidence that you need to be successful in your interview. So one important thing that maybe can help ease that stress is also to understand and to focus on the things that you can control, right? You already submitted your application. You cannot control how they interpret what you're writing. You can't control who reads it. You can't control what schools are going to respond to you. What you can control is how you can best prepare for it, not only in the stress, but also, what are some of the things that they're going to ask me, focusing on your research, why you want to do grad school, why it is so important for you. So hopefully a lot of the information that we give you, helps you build more confidence and calm that stress that comes with, I'm interviewing like next week. So what is the purpose of the interview? This is twofold, right? Here, the program is interviewing you, but also you are interviewing the program, right? When they interview you, they want to get a sense of who you are as a scientist. Remember, you're going to be their future colleagues, the future collaborators. They want to know, how have you prepared for it? Do you know what you're getting into? Because these are, 4, 5, 6 years that you're going to be pursuing research. They want to get a sense of you as a collaborative member, and that you're committed and motivated to do research. And also then is a way for you to interview the program, right? It's a way for you to kind of get a sense if you fit within, their their program. How do they interact with each other? If the science is exciting, um, it's exciting for you. What are their values? Their offerings, are they aligned with what you're looking for? What's the culture? And just getting a general sense if this is a place where you see yourself thriving and a good fit to the program. So the interview process can vary, right? And it depends on the school. Last year, there were many, in person, and still virtual is one of the formats. And from what I heard from advisor this year, many schools might be going back to the to virtual as well because of funding constraints and limitations. But you have to be prepared for all different types because you don't know. Well, maybe some schools have said how their interviews are, but others do not put any information until they reach out to the applicant. So you want to be prepared for the different types of formats. It can be, again, fully virtual. So the formal interview online, and then they do the in-person or the recruitment weekend, right? Where you're being accepted to the program, and then you go there more to get a sense of like the campus, meet the people, and kind of get a feeling on how you feel you will fit in there. And if you see yourself like living and studying there. It could be in person. It could be a combination of both. Last year we heard some having a like short half hours, kind of like short screening, like interviews, and then it can be followed by more of a formal one. And we've also heard, especially for this year, that some schools may give you the option, right? Virtual reduces a lot of like the stress of like the traveling, also financially, there's no cost. So, and it gives them more accessibility, right, to more applicants. So you may be in a school that leaves you the choice. In terms of what does it entail? If it's in person, can entail a campus tour. In person or virtual, they might be opportunities to interact with faculty, with program directors, with the current students. Although not very common, we've heard of a few that have been asked to give a short talk, and I have a slide at the end that you can use for your reference, but this is more of a formal discussion about your like research, right? With no slides. They might be asking questions and then just writing, on the board. So it's kind of get a sense of how, you think, how you communicate your science. And if you have a good, understanding of your project and your experiences. Others might be a PowerPoint presentation of your research. But again, these are not common, very rare, but just putting it out there. So if you are one of those that apply to a school that asks for it, it doesn't come as much of a surprise. And then, of course, interview with the faculty. It could be the faculty that you wrote about in your personal statement, or if they ask you for a list and they do their best to match you, with those. It can be with administrators, and the formatting can vary. Can be one-on-one, can be you with multiple faculties, or can be, multiple students with multiple people. So the first step is setting up your interview and being informed, right? So you got that email. You want to respond as promptly as possible, and being professional. If you get a call, make sure that you have a good voicemail, professional voicemail. So nothing like, hey, yo, hit me up later. That is not going to make a good impression. So this is a time that you might want to hear your voicemail and change it, just in case you receive a call instead of an email. Read the instructions that they sent you very carefully. You don't want to ask something that was very explicitly said in the email, right? So of course, read it, and if you have questions or clarification, reach out back for that information. Be as accommodating as possible regarding dates, but also realistic about your schedule. Schools know that there may be conflict. I mean, there's only a few weekends in a month and they're all doing it concurrently, right? So depending on how many interviews you are having that conflict, just have to think about logistically, right? Which one is more of a priority for you, like if they're like flexible, and it's okay to take your time to respond with more information that could help you make a decision. Also, being mindful, right? Like you don't have to cram all the interviews back and forth. You want to make sure that you leave time to kind of decompress, to give you a break from one to the other. Sometimes, depending on the location where they are, you might be able to coordinate it so that you can go to one place and then you have a few days and go to the other, but also have in mind that how does that fit within your responsibilities here in your lab, and if it's wise for you to do it that way and works for you. And be sure you understand what the structure of the interview is from, those things that we just discussed, when you have to be available, and if there's something that you are confused or are not clear, ask for clarification. Generally, these interviews will happen January, February for most schools. So unless, and this is just like putting it out there, but if you have like a trip that has been set or a vacation, family vacation already for a long time, that's one thing. But if you don't have anything kind of planned, just trying to leave your weekends like as flexible as you can, because when these interviews invitations come up, you might not have as much time, right, to make decisions. So just being flexible and follow the directions. If they give you a deadline to respond, follow the deadline. You can, of course, always ask for flexibility if it conflicts with multiple interviews, but make sure you're just following what they are saying and their process, since this can be very different from school to school. And then that is the exciting part. Now comes the stress of like, oh my God, this is actually happening, right? It's becoming reality. So I think before even getting into like the nitty-gritty of like the interview, it's just calming your stress in advance. And we're going to go through each of these elements. Be proactive and think ahead, right? Of what are the things that you need to prepare in advance for a virtual or an in-person format. So virtual, think about a quiet space, a professional space with few distractions. Please don't do it from your bed. If you have roommates, if you don't have a private space, reach out to your training office. Maybe they have a space that you can use in their building. Reach out to us. We coordinate also for students that have virtual interviews and don't have privacy to do them. And we try to, find a space for them, right? Make sure that where you are, you have a reliable internet connection. And also, when you receive the invitation, make sure that you have a contact information, whether a phone or number or an email of someone that you can reach out if your if the platform that you're using closes or you have any issues, so that they know, and you can find ways to continue to do that, and that eases at least the stress that someone that you can contact in case you have any issues. Check your computer settings, make sure that whether it's Teams, Zoom, or any other platform, that you have whatever you need, like software wise, in your computer, and that it works fine. So test everything. Where you are, the space that you are, make sure that there's good lighting so they can see you. It's not super dark. Avoid busy backgrounds, or you don't want to have your underwear hanging on the back, right? So blur your background or choose something else that is kind of neutral, simple, because the focus should be on you. Practice eye contact to the camera. I mean, right now I'm failing on that because I'm looking at the slide, right? But when you are interviewing, you want to make sure that you're looking at them. And it can be hard and it can feel weird. And I always suggest put like a post-it note next to the camera with a note that says, look here. And of course, you can change your view at a certain time because gives you a little break. But at least, you force yourself to look directly at the camera. Be mindful of your body language, even in virtual, right? That you're sitting up straight, that you're not too close to the camera or too far out, that you smile. So kind of like Simon in the way you speak. If you tend to do like fidgeting or moving a lot, find a stationary chair so you're not like swinging in your chair. Clothing is very important. No one needs to see your underwear or your PJs. So even if it's virtual, please dress fully from top to bottom and professionally, because you never know if suddenly you have to stand up for something um, and you want to give a good impression, right? That you prepare for the event. Um, we know, like, we're used to the texting, we're used to be on your phones, we used to hide behind the boxes in online, but this you have to be fully present. So if you need a little bit of like practice and get out of the comfort zone, just do some social activity online and practice, speaking up, engaging in group discussions, so that you get ready for that interview. Have water, snacks, notepad, pens, everything, right? Kind of sort out before. Now, when you think in person, right? First of all, is to understand all the logistics with your travel. Flight, housing, who's gonna pick you up, where are you gonna stay. If you have any specific needs or reasonable accommodations, make sure to ask for that. Also inquire about expenses. You don't want to suddenly receive a surprise bill that you have to pay, right? So see what is covered is like food, most likely they do like housing and travel, but what about food? What about taxis? Do they give you some money in advance? Do you have to pay and then they reimburse? Is there a cap so you don't go wild, spending? So just make sure like you have all the details so nothing comes as a surprise later. Ask about an agenda or a schedule, and how flexible is the agenda, that you have time maybe to kind of visit the city. If you see that there's no talk with students, is there flexibility to do that? I mean, most cases they do, because that's a very important component of figuring out if you feel like this is a good fit for you. Just talking to the students is critical. Who are going to be your interviewers, so that way you can research a little bit about them and be prepared. Though it may not be possible for you to know all of them, or like it happened, one trainee told me like they prepare to talk to someone and then it was someone completely different, and he was kind of shocking at first, but then, just take it as an opportunity to get to know someone new and, ask about like their science, their research, and kind of, think about it more of a conversation. So don't let that get you, out of your zone. But it's always good the more information you have in advance, and how many, and is it going to be one-on-one? Is it going to be group? So you want to have all that sorted out. Clothing, again, in person, you want to know what you're going to wear. Professional attire, business casual. Remember that you're not going to the club, you're not going to the beach. So you want to stay professional. Also, think about the weather. Is it cold? Is it hot? And be comfortable, especially for females. If you want like heels, I mean, I love wearing heels, but if you're going to be walking from one building to the other and it takes 10-15 minutes to walk, or you're going to be outside, you don't want to be in pain. So it's okay to just wear something that is uncomfortable but professional. Practice your handshake, again, body language, and in the room it's harder to hide. So you have to practice, sitting. I speak a lot of my hands, and I know that drives some people crazy. So just like if you're like me, kind of how do I where I'm gonna put my hands. Speaking up, your voice, your tone, staying calm, sitting straight, and all that. And again, it's okay to bring your notepad or a notebook, a pen, water, and snacks so you hydrate and eat something in between breaks. Taking care of yourself, right? Of your wellness now, as you are preparing for that interview. So developing healthy habits, right? Eating nutritious food and healthy food, getting your 7, 8 hours, of sleep. Be mindful of the use of medication, right? And especially when it's like stimulants and depressants. So make sure that you have that, like control. And if not, just talk to your, physician as well. Exercise, and that could be very different for all of you, but we know the positive effects that has on reducing your stress, improving, your focus, your memory. Practice mindfulness, or what other ways that calm your nerves and ground yourself at the moment. Also, I think it's very easy to, in that moment, to kind of doubt yourself, and then kind of dissecting every single little thing that you just said, and oh my god, maybe I wasn't clear, or they didn't understand me, or that was horrible. So it's very common to kind of think very negatively, about yourself. So find strategies to kind of change that mindset, right? Have a growth mindset and be kind, and talk nicely to yourself, right? And don't let one maybe bad, I don't know, answer that you think was bad, um, to deter you for just staying positive, um, and not taking that negativity for the rest of the interview, and subsequent interviews that you have later. And have someone to, reach out to during your interviews when you have a break, right? Someone that like is your best advocate and that will send you like affirmations and positive thoughts, and also people that you can talk about like the barriers, right, that you may think may impact you negatively, and work on that. And this is one of the things where if you need to talk to a well-being advisors, take that opportunity now, and they're available to help you during this time. Talk with your PI and mentors about your science. That is the most important thing in the interview. Understanding your science, what you're doing, and how does it fit within the mission of your lab, right? Making sure that you read, and remember the science that you talk and the experiences that you wrote about in your application. And also letting them know when you have interviews to taking, the time off, and giving them a heads up that you're going to be out that way. So just focusing in your application so you don't have to juggle like work and school. Be thoughtful as you accept invitations to interview. Again, like I said at the beginning, if you get a lot of them in a weekend, just reach out, right? For flexibility. And I always say if you get 3 and one of them is your top school, you might want to go for that first and then ask kind of for flexibility. They know this will happen. So that's another way to kind of get a sense of how supportive the program is with the students. And all of you are different, right? For some, the rush of like moving from one interview to the other will keep you kind of, heightened and like will keep you going. But for others, like me, I need time to settle, and I can get very like overwhelmed or burn out if I do too many things in one day. So you have to know yourself to determine what is the best schedule for you, right? Because you want to reduce like the stress that comes like with the scheduling, the traveling as much as possible. So schedule your visits thoughtfully and using resources. Our pre-grad advisors, career counselors, wellness advisors attend their activities. And if you want to like learn more about managing your stress, we have the Becoming a Resilient Scientist that you can watch the workshops on our YouTube channel and get some kind of tools, right, that you can have on hand, especially the units 1 and 2. And remember your interview goals, right? One, what you want to show is that you're excited about going to grad school, right? So you want to present yourself enthusiastically. And I know this can be hard when we're nervous, but just trying to have that balance You don't have to be someone that you're not. And if they cannot see that, then may not be the school for you. So be your authentic self. Obviously, always some boundaries, right? Um, Understand your research and the field that you're entering, right? That's your goal, that they see you as like a successful grad student, as a future um, colleague. So you want to make sure that you can describe your current interest, um, knowing that they might change when you do rotations, and that is okay. But that you have a clear idea of what you want to do, that you also understand the career landscape, and that what you're getting into. I mean, science has its challenges, right? Um, Explain this is the opportunity to explain any bumps in your past without making excuses. So if you didn't have the best like grade in one of the classes, this may be the place for you if it comes up, to kind of explain why, but um, without making excuses, just taking accountability and responsibility for it. It's a way also to find out if the research that is done there, when you talk to the faculty, when you talk to the students, excites you. And a great way to learn what is not in the website, right? You get a lot of information in the website, but it's very different when you're there, when you see how the students and faculty interact, when you talk to the students about their experience, about how being a grad student feel there, like the support for the program, kind of the community that they build, um, as well. So you get those details that can help you make an informed decision later, and then just figuring out if it's this the right school for you. You're going to be there 5, 6 years, so that's a good amount of time, and you want to make sure that you're in a place that you're happy, right? Not only with the science, but also with the community that you're going to be part of and the city that you're going to have to live on. So before the interview, you review your application and the materials that you submitted for that school. So for each interview, focus on that school, right, at a time. Review the faculty that you're going to meet, the faculty that you wrote about in your personal statement. You don't have to read every other papers, but at least maybe the latest paper that they have, reading their description on the web page. You want to practice how you're going to greet people. You want to practice a short introduction about yourself, who you are, what you are there, what you want to do. Talk about your research and answering common interview questions that hopefully will give you enough of them. And also with the mock interviews, you'll have enough practice to continue practicing those questions. Prepare questions in advance. You have to have questions to faculty and to students. And you might forget in the moment there. So as you're preparing to go to an interview to a school, just write down what questions you have about the program, what questions you have to the faculty that you say you were interested, excited to work with. Again, you'll know what you wear and make sure that you have set up, your space, especially, if it's virtual, so that you don't have to think about that. So when we think about questions that you want to prepare, right? Questions that they might ask. Tell me about yourself. And even though this sounds like, oh, it's easy because it's about me, it's one of the hardest questions. And this is not about your life story and like 20 minutes of, everything that you have done. It's a very concise response about who you are and your motivation to go to grad school. So it should be focused on your interests and experiences as they relate to grad school, and how have they prepared you for this journey, right? So it can be brief, 1 to 2 minutes, focus on your education, academic, research, what experiences that led you to pursue grad school, what type of research you're interested in pursuing in this school, can mention your career and goals. And of course, it's about yourself, right? So you can also add something about you. We have heard some students talk about like hobbies, or others talk about like something that is like memorable or unique um, to them. Some other talks how they match like music with their science or sports with their science. Some talk about their identity in terms of like how that have, or also personal experience with their family that how have they have motivated them to into going to that field as well. But be cautious on not going too overly like personal stories. And also, it's not about anyone else; it's about you. So you just have to have that sweet balance about it. Then it's about your previous research. Tell us about your previous research experience, and this is going to be the most important. Or it can be tell us about, you know, your most meaningful research experiences. So you have to think about, this is a way for them, again, to kind of get a sense of what you have done. And it's not about a list of, they don't need a list of techniques. They don't list like the whole details on a protocol. Think about big picture, right? What was the project about? What was your role in that project? What were your contributions? What have you learned about being a scientist, right? That have prepared you for the challenges of grad school, for the rigor of grad school. Maybe he has informed what you want to do in grad school as well. So they just want to get a sense that you are speaking as a scientist and that you understand what you're doing, how it advances the field, right? What are the implications when you think about human health or wherever it is? But just make sure that you have a clear understanding of your research. What do you enjoy most about doing research? And this could be like one of those fun questions, some cool experiments that you did, or something, that you worked on that was really interesting for you, that show your excitement. What was your hardest challenge in science and how you deal with it? And this kind of gives them a sense also of that like resilience that you have, and knowing that grad school is hard. And there's more failure than successes. So they want to know that you're aware of that, right? And that you can handle that. Otherwise, it might not be the great, experience. And that failure is part of the process. What types of scientific problems do you hope to work on? You don't want to be generic. Oh, I'm very interested in neuroscience, but I really haven't thought about what I want to do. That's going to be a no-no. You want to think more in depth, like specifically. You don't have to go into a specific gene or protein, but at least letting them know that you have thought about this. And you should refer to your personal statement because you wrote about that. Why do you think you're ready for grad school? So think about the experiences and the skills that you have developed through your undergrad and here as a postbac. What specific features interest you in our program? And saying, oh, you have great professional curriculum and your science is excellent. That's a very generic answer. That tells me that you did not think about this at all and you have no idea what we offer. So make sure that you go back into that school and thinking, why am I interested in this school? Besides the science, right? What other things do they offer that appeal to you? Access to core facilities, to research center institute, the professional development. Maybe you get opportunities to do internships in industry, or if you're interested in teaching, they have a pedagogy program or certificate. Like what's like the network they have, access to populations that you're interested to work with. All those things are important um, to talk about. What aspect of a graduate program do you value the most, right? And here, thinking about, do you value, the like the mentorship, the focus that they have on mentorship, the collaborative nature, the community. So you want to think about how you want to answer these questions and practice them. We have here other questions that I'm not going to go into it, but you have them there so that you can take a look and practice as well. Even though these are not as common, you may get some behavioral questions. And these are a good way to assess how you're going to handle a challenging situation based on the fact that, past behavior and response are a good predictor of future performance on behavior. So it's more of like how you handle conflict, how you handle like time management. So if you see the questions here, right? When you struggle in a class or in your research, what do you do? So it kind of give them a sense if you are open to feedback, if you're open to ask for help. if you're open to learn. So all those things come from these sort of questions. So you want to just think about a few of them, right? And do some reflection in advance. Think about your experiences in your lab, as undergrad. I mean, sometimes if you feel like, well, I don't know, I've been lucky enough to be in groups that are very supportive, think about maybe your leadership experience, right? When you have been working on a team, in any conflicts, or when you took a class and it was really hard. So just take the time to reflect. And using the STAR approach can help you formulate your response in a way that is concise. This is not something to go, for like 10 minutes. It's something that you want to be focused, like what was the problem, the situation, what or the actions or the tasks that you did, and then like the result, what was the outcome, right? How did you improve? How did you handle that situation? And how would that you apply that, right, to your journey in grad school? And then practice. And then what questions might you ask? You want to, again, like I said, you want to have questions for the faculty and you want to have questions for students. And here we have a lot of like questions that you can pick for. I would say you want to ask questions that are not answered with only yes or no, right? So you have to be thoughtful in how you ask a question, and also think about what's important for you. For each of you, maybe you're looking for different things in a school. So you want to think about what is important to me to thrive in that program, and then base your questions of that. Some questions that you can think of is like, what are the qualities that you see in student success here? I mean, at the end, you want to leave with a job, right? So where do usually grad students go? I mean, usually they have that, they may have that on their website, but if they don't have, that's a great question to ask. How does the mentor selection work? That's a great question. And also, ask for the negative part. Like, what if a placement doesn't work? Like, how does the program handle, that? What if you were having a student having a challenging situation with the PI? What type of support do they provide? Like funding, um, and then attending, travel conferences, as well opportunity for you, right, to share your research. And then just other questions that you can ask. And I think this one, what do you like best about the program? What do you think needs to be improved? Is a great questions to ask faculty. Why do you choose to come here, right? So you can ask them questions not only about their science, but that get you some information about the school. Okay, now your time for the interview came by, right? So you are on time. Prepare to be on time. I arrived early. You never know what could happen. Traffic, the Uber or taxi, whatever, doesn't get on time. It's raining or it's snowing. So I always say as a set of rule, like be there, like if possible, at least half hour before, just to give you enough time. Like if you don't know exactly where the building is, or if you have like trouble finding the place, you don't want to arrive late. So always give yourself extra time to get there. Turn off or mute your phone. Dress professionally and comfortable, and then breathe deeply. Take a moment to focus when needed. Sometimes maybe at that beginning you can be very nervous, and I think you can also say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm nervous," and then just take a minute to compose yourself. They know you're nervous, right? And I think that's a good way of also knowing the type of program you're going to be when something like that happens, and they aren't take it as, take your time, don't worry, and they comfort you, and they are like, okay, with it, and then kind of help you ease that stress. That's just a lot of the faculty as well. And then continue to implement your wellness strategy. So take with you snacks that are healthy, right, that are going to be good for your stomach. If it helps you doing exercise before, or taking a walk at some point, or meditating, 5 minutes of mindfulness, whatever has worked for you, keep doing it during the interview. Again, reach out to someone that you trust, that could be like that positive like person that you can reach out to comfort you during this stressful time. Keep a growth mindset. Even if something goes wrong on your first let's say, you interview with the faculty and you think, oh my God, it went like horrible. Like, don't let that affect how you respond to the separate, right? Whatever you say, you cannot change it. But now, take the time to reflect and then just go into the next one with a positive mindset. And again, talk nicely, to yourself, and kind of shut down those negative thoughts. When you're interviewing, again, you want to show that you understand the big pictures. And I think what you focus, it depends on the program that you're applying and the field. For some, what they did in undergrad is more relevant and meaningful than what they did as a postbac, but still, it doesn't dismiss what you're doing here. So while you might just be more briefly, about your postbac and then focus on your undergrad research experience or any other research experience, it's important that you talk about what you're doing right now. And if it's vice versa, then that's fine. Then you talk less about your undergrad and then kind of expand more on your work as a postbac. Target your responses to the audience. So you might have experts, of course, in your area. And you can say, are you familiar with this concept? Are you familiar with X, Y, and Z? And then depending on their response, then you adjust your answer. And this is something that you can plan now. Practice like, okay, someone that is an expert, how much into detail you go, and someone that is not an expert, like how can I explain that to them, right? That they still get an understanding of what I'm doing. Limit the length of your responses. It's not about quantity, it's about quality of the response. And use examples rather than I'm great at communicating skills. Like, how are you, right? Just talk about, if you got a best poster presentation or a best art presentation, or if you were invited to do a presentation, I presented in X, Y, and Z, like conferences. Like if you have are in a manuscript, you can use that as well. So just like showing rather than telling, and not using props. So this is a time where it's more of a discussion of the science and thinking on your feet. So not bringing a computer to show them like slides or a copy of PowerPoint, slides. You have to have that here, and you have to be able to explain it to them without the use of any props. Ask good questions about the science and the program, especially to the faculty. Not only, all of them, they will love talking about their science, right? So you have to show interest. And if you have the opportunity where they, right, who you're going to be interviewing with, and then you can already have some like questions to ask them. And everything can happen also organically where you're there, and make sure that you remember those questions. And then the way you respond, right? Like responding with enthusiasm, and then showing through your responses that you are ready for this, that you're a hard worker, and that you're committed and motivated. I said this, like if they ask you about per grades, just going into the reason why without going too much into details and without blaming in anything else. But you can think about this, about the challenge, and also what do you need to improve, right? Maybe you were in medical leave, or you have take time to take care of a family member, and that affected your performance. You have to withdraw. You got an F on a class, but then I seek support, I use resources, I did X, Y, and Z, right? And then you see the positive outcome. And then keep your well-being toolkits in hand. And remember that preparation pays off. And when you are in group activities, it's not all about you. So make sure you're engaging, you're asking questions with other. You feel like everyone is kind of part of the conversation, and it's not on everything just focus on yourself. You're trying to connect not only professionally but also personally. Do your best to attend to all the social activities, whether that is a late dinner, or maybe they have like a social event. I know you might be tired, exhausted. It's like I cannot even talk to more people, but remember that every everything that's planned is part of the interview. And that's how the great opportunity meeting, get to know the faculty and get to know the people in a setting outside the school, outside like, kind of the science. And always you have to stay professional, but just go, right? Um, Unless, of course, there's something that you get sick or something like that, that's very different. But just put yourself to go if you can. Have questions, I've talked about that, and it's okay to ask questions in the meetings. If they have planned some poster sessions or talks by faculty, you raise your hands and have questions about it. And it's okay, even though you may not be able to have talk about diversity inclusion in your personal statement. It's for you. That's important. Asking, about their commitment or the role in like diversity and promoting a inclusive, community. Asking about well-being, wellness support, what they're doing to improve mentoring, etc. And you can ask about how is life living, here. What do you do for fun? What students do to build that community? So it's okay to ask non-school activities. And that first impressions form quickly and are hard to change. So you want to make sure that you create a excellent first impression the moment they see you, right? From the way that you're dressed, that you're neat, clean, you're dressed appropriately for the occasion, nonverbal communication, that you practice your posture, that you have good eye contact, your facial expression, like showing, smile, show that you're happy to be there, controlling any gestures or nervous mannerism. And that's something that you can work on that now. From your verbal communications, like your voice, your tone, whether you like are speaking like really slow or you talk with like more confidence, how clearly you organize and express your ideas, and you have the ability to listen and to respond, right? Not taking over conversations, but making sure that everyone is included in them. On the other side, you want to avoid certain behaviors, bad mouthing other schools, no matter how bad it was. You don't want to badmouth in your schools, programs, or PIs that you work with, because they might think if you do that with them, then you're going to do it with us, right? And it doesn't have anything to do with the interview. If you talk too much about other schools, then they might wonder why you're interested in talking hours if you talk about the other one, right? Don't forget to thank every interview, thank you for taking the time to speaking to me. I really enjoy our conversations. Keeping whether virtual or social events, again, as I said, do your best to attend to everything that they plan. Leave your phone for when you have a break, and do not arrive late. So that is not going to set a good impression. And keep boundaries in mind, right? You don't need to share everything about you. Now, you did your interview. Now you can relax. What do we do after the interview? Send a thank you email to the people that you meet. If you have the names, you can find like, the emails, the person that sent you, the program director, any students that host you or that you met, that you have their contact. I mean, everyone loves to, receive an email thanking them for their hospitality, for talking to them, etc. Take notes. If you have multiple interviews and you wait at the end to put everything together, everything might be like blurry on your mind. And then you might not remember, wait, who do I talk to about this? Who do I talk to about that? So your brain is fresh right after the interview. So as soon as you have a break and you get back to wherever you're staying, make notes. Kind of like the pros and cons, like how do you feel, about that school? What do you learn? Like if you have your list of questions, some tips, some notes on their answers. So that way, when you do all your interviews, then you can compare notes. Review areas for improvement. So again, I think the first one is the hardest because you don't know what to expect. You might be very nervous, but then once you go through it, then you can say, okay, well, maybe I didn't do as well in this one, but this is something that I forgot to say. This is something that I can add. Or I don't think I was that clear. Maybe I'll say it this way, and then just practice and improve for the next one. Um, when you receive an offer, you can say, thank you. But remember, you don't need to answer right away, right? You um want to make sure that you give yourself time to receive others. I mean, everything within boundary because you cannot wait for 3 months, um but just ask them, oh, thank you, this is very exciting. When do I need to get back to you with a response? So you don't need to commit before you're ready. April 15 is a deadline set up by the Council of Broad Schools, where it's like that last day where you can tell that you have to decide which schools you're attending. So you can not be pressured to answer before that. However, given the current climate, a few things, you want to be mindful that this year might be challenging in terms of, the number of offers. There might be more people in wait list. So if you know that a program is like right away you realize, oh my God, I cannot see myself there, and you get an offer, just decline as soon as you receive the email so that then that can open another spot to someone else, right? If you're sure that that's the school that I want, I love it, then answer that and decline politely other offers as well, right? So it's just like that balance. You don't have to respond that fast if you haven't decided yet, and base it on when they need a commitment, because remember they might have people on the way so that they might want to reach out as well. So just be mindful of that, and do not hesitate to email or call if you have questions. So just general tips for success. Preparation is key. Planning in advance, right? To minimize stress, minimize distraction, especially if it's like, virtual. Being ready with that standard set of questions that you want to talk to. And you can have the same questions for, there are certain things that you might want to know how each school like responds and addresses your questions. So you can have the same questions for the school. It's not like you have to think from scratch for each school. But there might be some questions that are specific to a school that then it's going to be right unique to each one. So you can have a set of like kind of standard question and like very unique to that school question. Be self-confident, but not egotistical. If you will know it all, you will not be applying to grad school, right? So it's okay to say, I don't know. And so don't make up things that you don't know, because that will make you look bad. You can say, well, I'm not really, I haven't heard of that, but I wonder if, or really, I don't know, but it might be interesting if, and then you fill out the blanks. Remember that you're being interviewed even when you're not in formal interviews. From the moment you step in to the moment you leave, you're being interviewed, whether it's like the formal interview, whether it's like with students by themselves, social events, etc. Don't be overly swayed by the opinion of any one person you meet. You have to take it by, context. And at the end, you have to follow your own gut, and right, like, just take everything, all the interactions that you have, and all the opinions that you receive, and kind of weight them, right, against each other and against what you're looking for. Ask yourself if you will fit in well with the current students and other interviews, right? Those students that are coming in are going to be your classmates, the ones that you're going to move with throughout the program. And so you want to kind of get a sense of, do I fit in? Do I feel like comfortable? Do I see myself in this community? And to help you kind of gather all the information, I suggest create a spreadsheet, right, where you can have a list of the pros and the cons for each school. Who do you meet? Especially if you get the opportunity to meet with the faculty that you put on your personal statement, that could give you ideas of like, oh my God, like if there's an opportunity to work with this person, like I'm gonna go with them, before you forget all the details. And then you can take a look at it when you're making decisions. And most importantly, take care of yourself. Even after the interview, when you're preparing to the next one, it's a stressful time. And I think then after you finish with the interview, right, and you can like, be relieved, then comes uncertainty and not knowing, right? So this can be stressful. It's an emotional process. Prepare for the rejections, prepare for the acceptances, prepare for those that ghost you. So take care of yourself. Eating well, exercising, don't overdo it. Avoiding negative coping strategies that can impact you negatively. Taking care of your needs, and finding support. If you have your own like a therapist or a person you talk to, make sure to stay connected with your family, with your friends, to your mentors. We are here for you. We have tons of resources as well, and we are here to help you, and we're writing for all of you. So for practicing, right? Hopefully this gives you an idea of some of the questions that you may be asked, and how to start thinking about it. You can start with kind of bullet points. How would I answer the question? And then you build from there, right? Your response. We have group mock interviews start next week on December 9, 10, 11. We have the second set on January 6, 7, and 8, where we practice the most common questions in a supportive environment. It's usually a group of 5 Postmax, and it's an hour and a half. And it's really interesting because you kind of learn from each other that there are different ways to answer the questions, right? So you don't have to have you can have kind of some ideas and points, right, of what you want to say, but it doesn't have to be necessarily a script. It doesn't have to be the same answer from everyone. And I think that's the beauty of this. Not only you get the feedback from the facilitator, which we all have PhDs, we all did grad school, but also you kind of learn from each other. You give feedback to each other. Well, can you improve? Oh, that wasn't clear. Maybe you should expand a little bit here. Maybe it was too long. I like how you introduce yourself, or I like how you started. You tell me about yourself. So it's a really good opportunity for you to practice in a kind of low stress setting. If you don't find any spot, because honestly, I haven't looked, so it closes on Friday, and I know many of them were full. But if you don't find a many spot or the times conflict, and you cannot attend, you can always also make an appointment with a pre-grad advisor through the YT online scheduler and have a one-on-one mock interview as well. We also have the biweekly virtual Q&A sessions. The next one and last one of the year is December 12th from 11 to 12 p.m. There's no presentation. It's just Q&A. So if some questions come from this talk that are bothering you, bugging you, and or other things that you start preparing, come next Friday, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. There will be OIT skills group on certain, there are some topics that might be very relevant during this time that you're applying for grad school: value-based decision making, the overcoming the pitfalls of perfectionism, performance interview anxiety. These are for January, so be on the lookout for an email next week when they will announce it. And actually on that hyperlink, you can see the rest of the topics as well. These are the resources that have all our workshops. If you missed anyone, that you can watch, or if maybe you're in here and you're not applying this cycle and applying the next one, so that's available for you. The OIT will be in series. We have the Becoming a Resilient Scientist series. Remember, we talk about imposter fears, negative self-talk. You can have access to all the It's a 5 lecture series, so you have access to all of the 5 in here in the OIT YouTube channel, so you can watch at your leisure. And also other workshops on like mental health and well-being of biomedical researchers. In addition, the well-being has a ton of things that are available for you besides the one-on-one. So if you feel you need to work more closely with one of them in terms of like using like, your stress or your anxiety or other things that are maybe barriers or you're struggling with, you can have a one-on-one meeting with them. So you send an email to oit-wellness@nih.gov. We have a lot of drop-in resilient discussion groups. These are drop-in. You come in when you want, you can leave. It's Q&A. It's more of a, discussion and support. There's no lecture. And they have different topics rotating, and you can take a look in their website. They offer mindfulness meditation, Thriving Thursdays, and then the skills group that I mentioned with the topics that are for January. There's also support groups, and to NIH. And this is just for you for later if they ask you for structure, so you have that as a reference. And that is all. I'm going to stop sharing. And then let's see. Gail, is there any questions that were
Yes.
not answered?
I have one question that we thought we would throw out to you. Is it appropriate to reach out to faculty after getting an interview if you have an interview conflict to decide if you need to decline the interview?
So to email a faculty.
That is the question, yes.
Or the program director.
It says faculty, but you might want to specify.
So I think who you contact, if you have a conflict with your interview, you contact the person that sends you the email. It can be an assistant, it can be a program director. You don't necessarily are going to email the PIs or the faculty that you're speaking with, because I mean, they're not involved in like the scheduling and the planning. So you would just reach out to the person, and it's okay. I mean, you have to think about it, right? Before, if you have a conflict and want to ask for flexibility, you don't have to say exactly why, but you can say I have a conflict with another interview that is at the same time and I have to fly for it. And maybe this is virtual, and maybe they have like alternate, interview dates that they're not going to tell you, but if someone has a conflict, they already have kind of that as a backup. If you want to, you have to decline, then, you politely say, thank you for extending, the invitation, and I will not be able to, participate or attend, something like that. You don't have to go into all the details, but you want to be professional and you want to respond promptly. I did meet with, she's currently in grad school, and she got a lot of interviews, and one of them was in person, but conflicted with like 2 other interviews that she had. So she had to ask that school, right? Because it wasn't, let's say, her priority or top school for flexibility. And while they couldn't bring her, they say, that's the only in-person weekend they have, they had an other alternate like dates for virtual. So she was able to interview with them, but virtually. So that could also happen as well. But I mean, yeah, it's okay. It's always important just to see how you phrase. And I mean, if you're struggling with the language, send us an email and we can help you. We can give you feedback on your email if that comes. We have done that in the past. Any other?
I just want an additional aspect of that. Anjali, additional comment about, I meant more like if we have to actually decide between two schools who have the same interview weekend to see if we can possibly meet with someone to decide which interview to
Oh.
take. And you did answer that. I would say, again, try and see if there's an alternative date
Right,
that works.
before.
Before, you know,
Yeah.
it's important to go to both interviews if you can.
Yeah. And again, they know, I mean, you only have what, 4 weekends, right? And this January, February, where most of them do it. If it's virtual, might be easier. If it's in person, might be harder because they're already scheduling those people to come there. But it's always best to ask for flexibility and go from there. They are the only ones that can make, that decision. And it might be, if they're not flexible, then you have to make the decision with what you have, right? And that is the hard part. But that could be a possibility as well. If they say no, so if one school tells you no, we're not flexible, then go to the other school and ask if they're flexible, right? And if none of them are flexible, then you're going to have to make a decision.
Okay, another question you have is for group interviews. Will there ever be a situation where interviews will elicit responses from anyone rather than someone specific? And if so, any advice for balancing between making sure you speak up enough versus making sure you don't dominate the conversation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you just have to be aware first of like self-awareness of who you are, right? Like if you're very extroverted that always likes to talk, is something that you might have to practice on. If they have a question, you can look at the room, maybe wait. They might want to hear from everyone because that's the only way, they can compare. But letting others answer first, and then you go and answering in a few minutes without just like dragging in the conversation. And I think that's the only, it's just like reading the room, and making sure that you listen, that you do others. And it depends also how the faculty kind of handles the questions and manage it with different people. Same for not only an interview, but if you're in a social event and there's like a group of interview, of your peers, potential grad students there together, and you're talking to a program administrator, you're talking to a faculty, just if you feel like you're the only one talking, just kind of stepping a little bit like back and letting others answer. Maybe, oh, I would like to hear from any of you. Do you have, another strategy? Do you have any other, suggestions, or what do you think about that? And kind of make them feel included in the conversation.
Okay. Your next question is about the mock interviews, and they want to know if you will be opening any more slots.
So right now, no. For now, no. I have to, the deadline is right tomorrow, and I have to look at them. If there's um that have opening, maybe it's not on your field, then that might be one that you can attend. And I know, the best will be if you can go to the one that is closest to your field, because you're surrounded by peers that kind of have maybe an understanding, but we ask the same questions and it's transferable, right? So even if you put neuroscience, which are usually the ones that fill out the quickest, and you see another one, like an other specific field, that could be other is one of those that are open for anyone else, and it could be like different topics, but it's still appropriate. If none of those sessions work for you with the time, um, email us, and then maybe, I can, maybe not sure in December, but you can schedule a one-on-one either with a pre-grad advisor to the online scheduler, or you can email me and then we'll see who can help you out. But for now, we're not planning, so it just depends on maybe the interest, if it's necessary.
Okay. The next question is more of a clarity question on your point about taking notes. Does taking notes during the interview come across as attentive or distracted?
Yeah. So, and glad you asked. Probably I wasn't clear. I'm not meaning take notes during the meeting. I think that could be distracting. Um, but have your notebook, so when you have moving from one to the other, you can make notes, right? You have 30 minutes with the faculty and then you're moving to the other one, and maybe, they give you some time. Or if not, after you do the few interviews in a row, take some time and like write your notes. Because you're right. If you are like talking to someone and writing, it can be distracting, and then you're not focusing as much in the conversation and the listening. So it's another skill kind of to learn, just like focusing on the conversation and then making mental notes of what are some of the things that you're going to write down later.
How would you suggest addressing weaknesses in our application during the interview?
So weaknesses, you want to think about it in a way of what are some things that you can improve. And I will say right out there that please don't say perfectionism, because that's one of the ones that gets to the advisors. And it's kind of a cliche one, but maybe you need to improve your public speaking, and that's okay. I mean, you're still forming as a scientist and forming as a professional. So just stating what the issue is, or time management. That's another one. I have struggle with managing multiple projects because I get so excited and I want to. It's hard for me to say no, right? Because I want to expand my skill set, and you want to be in everything, but then you also understand that impact the quality of the work. So you have to learn how to say no, how to establish priorities, and this is how have I done. And how it has improved, right? And then it's a skill that you're planning to take into grad school, because as a grad student, you have to juggle and manage your research, personal life, I mean, multiple projects. If you are part of the grad student organization, if you're involved in other things as well. So just think about it in what you need to improve, right? Think better than to think about it as a weakness. It's what is something that I'm struggling, of that I'm struggling undergrad, that I'm struggling, still struggling now. What have I done to work on that to get better, and how, and kind of like the outcome, right? And if you think it that way, it has like a better flow, and it just focus on something that you are aware that is important for your success, but you're working on it, and you're still, open to keep working on that.
Okay, the next one is I've heard that the purpose of the interview is partially to gauge how personable you are and if you will fit into the lab outside of just your scientific ability. How should we balance being professional and maybe coming across a little cold with being personable, but maybe coming across as unprofessional? For example, making a joke, etc.
Yeah, I think that part you have to be a little bit careful. Um, I mean, you have to be your authentic self, right? But you're also with your group of friends, right? You cannot say, "Hey, bro," or like curse, or just like make jokes that have double tone. Those things are for your friends. Those things are for your family. Those things are not professional. With the joke, I think it just depends. Maybe with the grad student, it's okay, but I will stay away of just like, being excited about what they're saying, asking questions, smiling. But I mean, the jokes, it just depends on the context, on what it is, because you have no control of like if they're gonna get offended by what you're saying, if they're gonna take it the wrong way. So, I mean, that's very like personal for you to decide. I think the boundary is just, being kind of yourself, but also know that you're in a professional setting, right? That you were gonna address someone as doctor unless they tell you with their like name that yes, you can ask questions about, fun stuff, things that they like hobbies, things that you have done. I like this food, I do this, to um distressed. Oh, what about this show, this movie? Like things that are kind of friendly and getting to know someone, but don't get into more like serious or like too personal um things. Um and the jokes, I think it just also depends on personality. I know trainees who are make like everything is a joke and then that can come across like you're not serious. And it's just like really hard to tell you how to manage that. I think you have to be aware of your personality, and maybe ask like your friends, you know, to kind of help you in that part and like a better assessment um of yourself.
Gail, do you see any questions that we missed that haven't been answered?
I guess there's one question about an example of the tell me about yourself question. I mentioned we will be practicing that in the mock interviews, so it depends on if you want to comment on that more.
Yeah, I mean, the tell me about yourself again, it's that like 1 or 2 minutes of who you are, and usually it's like, my name is Natasha Lugo Escobar. I am, some can start like you can start with your current, position, or you can start with like I come from, Puerto Rico and I moved here to do my postdoctoral training, and then kind of go into your work. Some other start straight from your work, your research, and then kind of go back into your like undergrad experiences and that, oh, a little bit about myself. I play the piano and I play at the so and so concert, or I'm a like dancer, and the type of um music that you dance to, if you're an instructor of like personal trainers or athlete. I mean, those things you can mention. I think it's just depending on how comfortable you feel in the order you do it. But tell me about yourself is more on like what is your motivation to go to grad school? What are the experiences that you have had? The type like very generic in terms of like your undergrad, you did like 1 or 2 years research in neuroscience, looking at X, Y, and Z, then what you're doing as a postbac generic, and then kind of adding that personal touch if you want. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have anything about yourself if you don't want. We have had students that do both, that are very just academic research focused, and then there are others that starts with themselves, and then kind of add their research journey, and then at the end tied it to I'm very excited to be interviewing at this school and the possibility of joining, the graduate student community, and focusing on whatever fill in blank in your research. So there's like, this is one of those that you have to practice, and we have to hear like what you're saying to kind of give you like feedback, because there's no one specific way to talk about it. But again, it's really more about like that motivation, why grad school, and like research, and a little of a personal touch, but shouldn't be the other way around. A lot about your personal life, a lot about your family, and then just like one sentence about your science. Any other
I guess
questions?
there's the one question in past years, roughly what % of applicants receive invites to interview? Which is really difficult to answer
Yeah,
since this is
that's hard. That's hard to know because there's no like one place where you can. It's not like one place where you can find all the acceptances. I would say that based on like what advisors are saying, they're going to be more conservative on the number of offers. So making sure that the number of offers that they give are realistic to the number of people that they can fund. And the wait list might be larger. Some schools are reducing, their acceptances, but that's very hard to know because they all have different types of funding, and some programs are bigger than others. So I would, we want to be on the positive side, but you want to be prepared for rejections, and you want to be prepared for, of course, the acceptances. It's just we don't have numbers, but it's going to be another tough year. So just, go and do your best. That's one of the things you can't control. Like how many are going to accept and who's going to send you an offer, but you can focus on how well you prepare in advance for the interview. Okay, I think we are good. So again, you have the recording, you have the slides. If you cannot attend any of the mock interviews, just email me and we'll see what we can do. You can always check also on the online schedule on YTE to make an appointment with the pre-grad advisors. If you have any other questions, come to the next Q&A next Friday, December 12th. We'll have also another one in January as well. So that's another opportunity to answer any questions that were not clear or that come to your mind as you start thinking about this process. Okay, so I think with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon, great rest of your week, and we will see you maybe next Friday for some of the Q&As. Reach out if you need any help. Take care. Bye-bye.